Hey, what is going on, everybody? I know you're disappointed in this one. This is my instant reaction video to the 45-42 loss for the Miami Hurricanes against North Carolina, dropping Miami to 2-4 on the season. I think without question, Manny Diaz is on the hot seat. However, I was a little surprised about some of the questions in the post-game press conferences to Manny Diaz and the players. There seemed to be a lot of discussion about how hard this team played, particularly in the second half. You know, they were down 31-17 at halftime. Miami fights all the way back. They get it to the final possession inside the 20. And I find the last play, the last sequence very interesting. So Miami's out of timeouts. You saw the short pass to Charleston Rambo, about 20 seconds, clock is ticking, and then it brings up third down. And I thought at this point they could certainly go for the field goal. They could spike the ball. They had plenty of time to kick the field goal, or they could take a shot. What they did was they did run a play. They ran this RPO play, and I asked Manny Diaz about this and what happened. You guys saw the ending of it where it gets tipped at the line of scrimmage. And Tyler Van Dyke calls it an unfortunate play. However, I asked Coach Diaz, look, did you think about did you consider, Tyler being a young quarterback on the road? He had already thrown 2 interceptions. And what I found interesting was it felt like there were a lot of passes throughout the game that were deflected at the line of scrimmage. So I found it maybe a little bit risky going for it. I know that he did take a lot of pressure with going for it or for not going for it against Virginia in the loss before. I'm sure that probably played a factor into it, maybe because they were on the road. I don't know, but regardless, it did not happen. The ball gets tipped. North Carolina comes down with it. Miami loses, doesn't get a chance to maybe go to overtime. So there's a lot to get to. I know that they deserve credit for coming back, for staying in the game. However, unfortunately, this is about results. This is big time college football. You have got to win games. When you're Manny Diaz going into this game with already 13 losses to your name in 3 years, there's a lot of expectations that things will get turned around. Just playing hard or just staying competitive simply at this point is not good enough. This is, like I said, this is big time college football. And if you've watched my other videos, I've been talking recently about the importance of winning games. You get to a point in a coaching tenure where you've got to turn the corner. And unfortunately for Miami, unfortunately for Coach Diaz and his staff, they cannot get over the hump. And I know that he started the press conference. It felt like he was, pretty disappointed in the loss, really felt for the guys. And he said it for the second time in a row. He felt like that this team deserved a win. And I was only able to ask one question. I asked about the final play, but my other question, what I wanted to ask was more about, look, yes, you feel like you had a chance to win it at the end, but Miami has not led in either of these 2 ACC games. They had it tied 7-7 against North Carolina before the Tar Heels ran up and got a lead up to an 18-point lead. And I know Miami fought back, but this was not a game Miami was in control of. They had a chance late to maybe pull something out. It's really tough in college football, particularly with a young quarterback on the road. It's not the easiest task to pull it off. And as you saw at the end, they just came up short. So I think the biggest questions with this team is what's going on early in games. Once again, we are seeing a lot of the same mistakes, a lot of the same issues early on in games, whether it's giving up big plays. I thought that the 51-yard touchdown run was very disappointing. A lot of guys needed to step up, and they just did not do that. Corey Couch had a chance. Bubba Bolden, I do not know what he was doing on that play, but it was a poor play all around. You give up that long touchdown run, and then you saw Josh Downs weave through the defense untouched for a 45-yard score. Again, these big plays are happening early in the games, and then Miami has to do everything they can just to play catch up to try to get back into the game, and it's just not enough. That's ultimately what it all comes down to. However you want to slice it, whatever you think about how it got to the final score, you've got to win games, and Miami's not doing that. Manny Diaz is not doing that. That's why a lot of people are disappointed. I think you should be, rightfully so. I don't think you guys are expecting too much. This team is 2-4. It's the first time Miami's been 2-4 since 1997. A lot of teams around the country would be disappointed at 2-4. And it's not just about losing these last 2 games that were close. And yes, you could say there were a few plays away, but look, You barely got by Appalachian State, and you got blown out by Michigan State and Alabama. You can't just take every single thing as close losses. Yes, it is a good thing you're not getting blown out every time you show up to the field, but you've got to win games, and Miami's not doing that. Manny Diaz is not doing that. A lot of factors are playing into it. I think once again you saw in this game both sides of the ball really struggling. Offense was really struggling. Tyler Van Dyke threw 2 interceptions in the first half, 5 for 15, under 60 yards at halftime. That's simply not good enough. Tyler's got to show that he can, stay in games, keep the team in games. He was not doing that. Yes, he did turn it up in the second half for different reasons. He did get into a little bit of a groove, but he's got to show that sense of urgency in the first half. And I don't understand why he didn't do that when this is essentially very similar to what happened in the Virginia game. He's already been through this with trying to pick it up late in the game. So he's got to be better. The running back situation just couldn't get it going. Jalen Knighton finally breaks off a long catch and run. Good to see. He's showing off his speed and that one cut ability to get downfield. So that's a good sign. But again, you just need more of it. You need more positive signs. Same way with the wide receivers. Just not enough happening there. So guys got to play better on defense. There's no doubt they've got to be better on defense as well. I think what you're seeing on defense, it becomes all levels. Defensive line is struggling at point of attack. They had a hard time, containing Sam Howell in the running game, even though you knew that was going to be a factor. Yes, Sam didn't throw the ball downfield, but he's really been struggling throwing the ball, or they've been struggling connecting, throwing the ball downfield throughout the season. So you knew that they were going to come into this game with a lot of underneath stuff. Josh Downs had a big game in the first half. I do look at it a couple ways, and yes, Miami did pick it up in the second half. However, I felt like North Carolina did change their game plan a little bit because they had the comfortable lead. And certainly, they're not going to score on every single possession. It's hard to do that. So yes, there were some empty possessions by North Carolina, but also I think that they took their foot off the gas pedal just a little bit. And it does happen when teams build big leads, particularly at home. And I think that's what you saw. And ultimately, once again, regardless of how it got there, Miami just came up short. I don't know where this team goes from here, whether it's with Coach Diaz or if they're going to make a move there. They're 0-2 in the conference. I said this, if you guys checked out my VIP notes about about coaching, different things I've been hearing with the coaches, assistant coaches, and kind of just how I felt going into the North Carolina game with Manny Diaz and his future. I felt like these two games are vital, the North Carolina and the North Carolina State game, because regardless of what has happened in the non-conference, regardless of their record, they were only 0-1 going into the conference. That was the actual reality. Regardless of what we think might happen the rest of the season, they were only 0-1. So if you can somehow win these next two, you go to 2-1, and now you're in play for the division. However, a loss to North Carolina, you're 0-2, and I think without question, that North Carolina State game is without question the biggest game of the year in terms of the future moving forward. I still don't know where this team finishes. They've not played well enough to really get these wins. They're not out in front of these teams. They're not making teams feel really uncomfortable on both sides of the ball, particularly with teams on offense. Guys are getting to do pretty much what they want to do, too much. And I think that's why teams are scoring some points here on Miami. And that this is going back from the Alabama game. And you've seen it most of the season. So Miami's not been good enough defensively. That's why they're at where they're at. That solely falls on Coach Diaz because he took over the defensive coordinator spot. So they've got to figure out a way. The players are pretty dejected after the game. Tyler Van Dyke, Keontra Smith, these guys were dejected and just feel like they've got to continue to work. They feel like they're 1 or 2 plays away, but I think the biggest key will be to get it going early. And we'll see against NC State. NC State's look good this year. It looks like an even tougher team. And then Pittsburgh is after that. So at some point, they've got to figure out a way to win games. You can't play hard and keep dropping losses. This is big-time college football. There's a lot of issues that still need to be fixed. I know that they're going to try to take advantage of some positives. At some point, you've got to be concerned about this team if they're going to show up with a lot to play for. So we'll see. I think that you've got to see a little bit different things if this team wants to have different results. the teams they're facing do have weaknesses, but Miami's certainly shown they've had a lot of weaknesses too. So just kind of my instant reaction. I I think that a lot of fans are upset about this loss. Just kind of in conclusion, I think a lot of people are upset, and I think you deserve to be upset. There's a reason for that because it's not just one loss. It's the totality of what you're seeing in 3 years under Coach Diaz, and really years of frustration with this program. And I know that the coaching, with Manny Diaz and the players want to point to singular losses. It seemed like a lot of the media was also doing the same thing, that they did play hard in the second half. I'm kind of seeing it differently. I'm seeing a big picture kind of view on what's going on with this team. So they've got to get results, and we'll see what happens. Thanks for watching. I forgot to mention, but I want to hear what you guys think. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you guys are seeing a lot of positives. Drop in the comments. Let me know what you guys think. And obviously, if you're frustrated, let's keep the comments clean, or they will get flagged by YouTube. But other than that, more in-depth coverage will be on InsideTheU.com. Thanks to everybody for watching. Stay tuned and hang in there.